Hey guys, this is Stephanie Farron, the Technology Facilitator at Butler High School, and for this month's Tech Talk, we're going to be doing a quick series of video tutorials on Tech Talk tips. This video is on some Canvas tricks now that we are moving into the second quarter of the school year. So in this video, we're going to be talking about a reminder to turn off our sync to SIS from last quarter. We're also going to be looking at how to create a parent observer in Canvas and why you might like that, how to edit your notifications, how to create and use rubrics, and data from outcomes on quizzes, what that looks like. So we're going to start real quickly with turning off sync data in SIS and why you'd want to do that. Now that we're in second quarter, in order to avoid those sync errors from PowerSchool, Canvas will not allow you to change dates after the drop dead grade store date of around October 31st. So if you have an assignment that you assigned to kids last quarter, you can't just assign it to the kids this quarter, and there's a process to fix that. So let me show you real quickly what we're talking about. Alright, so I am in Tina Ziegler's Spanish 2 course, and I'm looking at her assignments. She has a lot of assignments. The way to know if they're synced to SIS is if I'm looking at assignments, the checkmark box is listed as green for sync to SIS. If these assignments, for example, this one was August 31st, well, we have way past August 31st. We have way past students with extenuating circumstances to complete an assignment from August 31st. So in order to clean up this for second quarter, what I would recommend doing is going through and turning off or clicking it off so that you have the X button for each one of your assignments. That way you can tell that it's first quarter versus second quarter. In some cases, I like to do modules and do it first quarter and second quarter just to differentiate. That way when you go to grades and you're posting to PowerSchool, you're not getting 20 million assignments to post to PowerSchool, you're only getting the ones for second quarter. It won't let you post anyway because of the sync issue with PowerSchool and Canvas because it's past the date, but just to make sure that you don't get a sync error, it's a good rule of thumb that after the grading period passes, just to turn them all off. You can't delete them because students have grades attached to them, but you can turn them off, and that'll make your life easier. If you do need this assignment again, the quickest and easiest way to trick Canvas into doing that is to go down to your settings and export the content that you want students to do again. And so I'll come down to export course content. You either have the option of course or quizzes. You create the export and you download it. Once you download it, then you can import it back by removing the dates and then assign it to the classes that you need to. There's another video tutorial that I can send out if you'd like more directions on how to do this. Next on our list is how to create the Parent Observer in Canvas. The Parent Observer is an app. It only works on smartphones for parents. But when the parent connects their account with the student account, they will be able to see their student work, the grades that were due, be able to get notifications, and be able to see what the students are doing in class versus PowerSchool. Attached to this discussion will be this handout for the slideshow. So if you're interested in having your parents set this up, you can print out the directions for your parents to do that. Canvas Parent app is available both in Google Play and the Apple Store. Once the parents download the app and open it up, the first thing they need to do is select Region Picker at the very bottom and select the United States. Once it does that, it'll allow parents to create their account. The parent creates an account. First time accessing the app, they can set up an email and a password of their choice. Once they do that, then they'll need to remember this. CMS cannot recover these passwords, but they can have the reset emailed to them if they do forget the password. Once that is done, then they will need to enter CMS or Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools to find the institution. Once they find the institution, then they will be directed to EdCloud. This is where they're going to link their account to their student's account. They need the student username, which is their ID number, and their password. Remember that teachers can reset the student passwords so that if you do not remember or if the student does not want to help the parent, then they can contact the school, any of the teachers, and they can get that reset. And then once it's connected, it stays connected forever, just like PowerSchool. Parents will then be able to log into the courses and see their students, multiple students. They can tab from one student to the next. They will get notifications just like students in Canvas. They will be able to see the courses they're in, the assignments they are in, the feedback the teacher gives them, as well as their grades. So they can add as many students as they want. They can see all the students' work. They cannot see any other student work in the course or anything else that is not directed to all the students in the course. So it's a great thing when parents are saying they don't have enough information about the course. And again, that handout will be made available to you. As a good rule of thumb, it should be a good habit to have your students edit their notifications. This is both for parents, if they're creating a parent observer, and for students and for teachers, so that you can get notified when things change in Canvas. So we're going to talk about how to find those notifications and which notifications you probably should have on. Once you log into your Canvas course, you're going to select the account icon and then come down. The third button down is notifications. Notifications is what you will like to get notified to you. The check mark is to send a notification right away. The clock is to send a daily summary. The calendar is a weekly summary or nothing at all. So for each of the items, you can see what you'd like to have sent to you when. You probably want some of these things done automatically. Due dates are probably not important for parents or students. That would be very important, but not for teachers, nor is grading policies. However, for teachers, you probably want to make sure that if you're doing conversations or discussions or assignments, that you're getting notified when the students submit their work. Okay? If you are getting assigned things, you need to do that as well, or any type of alerts. Most of you are not using conferences, but later on in the course, I'll show you how to use them. They're a great tool. So these are things you can adjust. You also can set up whether or not you want to get notifications on your cell phone or an alternate email address. For a student, course navigation notifications are exactly the same way. Under their account, the third one down is notifications. The notifications I would encourage all students to have turned on is one, announcements, so that as teachers post announcements, they automatically get those. Grading, so that they can see what assignments get done. Submission comment, or anything that has to do with the assignment. So that way, if a teacher is doing the work, the students are directly seeing it. There's no excuse. Remember, notifications come to you on any device. A cell phone, if they have the app on it, the Canvas, it will be on listed with the bullhorn when they log into their Chromebooks or their laptops or their desktops. So students need to make sure that, especially announcements, gradings, and assignments are up there. Discussions, if the teachers use them. The final two things is creating and using rubrics in Canvas. So let's take a look at that. So Amy Moore has created an assignment, and in order to quickly grade that assignment, she's added a rubric that simply says they've completed and answered all the questions or not. Rubrics are extremely easy to make and then extremely easy to grade in SpeedGrader. To create a rubric on an assignment, you simply create the assignment and save it first. When you go back and click on the assignment, if you don't click Edit but scroll down the page, you'll have a button that says you can add a rubric. You'll simply click Add a Rubric and you'll create your rubric. The title right now is Some Rubric. You'll call it whatever you like. So you can make a rubric that you use all the time. Each one, you'll have criteria. So you'll simply click the pencil to add the criteria. Since I have trouble with that, you can add as many points as you want by clicking the plus sign and the value of it. You can call it what you like. The nice thing is, once you save this, you can use this over and over and over again in assignments, and all you have to do is click the point value for it. You can also write free-form comments. You can use it for grading, or you can hide it in their final results. So creating this quick little simple rubric template, you can attach it to any assignment you want and use it over and over again. So if you're always checking their journal entry for completion in a paragraph, this would be a quick and easy way to do it. If you're always checking artwork for the same skill sets, this will do that as well. So it's a really great quick tool for a teacher. The last is outcomes from data on quizzes. So I'm going to show you a couple steps to show you the outcomes and the data that you get, although it's a lot of prep work setting up on the front. When you're in Canvas and looking at your student grades, if you select Learning Mastery, you'll be able to scroll across to see all the outcomes that you have assigned and then which ones they have met. You can hold your mouse over, hover the mouse over each one, and it will tell you whether or not this class as a whole met or exceeds the expectations. You can see the items that were assigned to that outcome and the final score for each. You can look at each one. You can individually look at a student to see what they've done. You can export a report, and you can see each section or all sections. And it really quickly does a color code for each one as to whether or not they're meeting the outcome. So that's how you know you've set it up. So let's move over to the quiz and the outcomes to make sure that, to show you ways to make sure that they're there and some other data you can pull. So remember, when you're creating outcomes, the first thing you got to do is set up your outcomes, and then you have to organize your test banks to them. Once you've done that, when you create your quiz, much like Tamron's right here, you can tell the groups at the very bottom to select the group based on the objective or the outcome. So let's get to the bottom of her page. And you can see that each one of her question groups, she's asked to pull so many questions that are worth the same value of points from each of the groups. So you simply click New Question Group, you select the group using your question bank. I can see her question bank, and then add the groups. The way you know that this has worked is when you're looking at your test and you preview it as a test user. It will actually create the outcomes for you just like it would the students. So if you get the questions wrong, so for example, and I finish this test and hit Submit Quiz, when I go and look at Test Student, it's going to give me my outcomes as well. So here it is. It tells me my correct and incorrect answers and that I missed most of them. But the catch is when I look in grades and then I look at test user, there's going to be one. There's test user. If I look at that test user, I can see how that student's done. I can switch to Learning Mastery and see the test student, and that test student has done those mastery goals as well. So let's move him over a little bit so you can see him. It's kind of hard to do it, but you'll see that on the individual view if you switch to test user. So it's really cool. You can test it and make sure that it works. So I'm looking at my test user, and then I would see that that student had the mastery learning goals. Both the students and the teachers can see their goals. So you can show that and then see it. So we can look at each of the outcomes. So for example, 2.21, or look at each one and see how they did. Obviously, I'm not going to have any outcomes because I got the two questions wrong. Okay, we can export these files and results as a CSV file, which will open in Excel, and then adjust it, or we can look at them individually with students. And so I'll have another video to show you that further.